Alongside Brent Hubbs and Rob Lewis, I'm Austin Price for the Rocky Top Roundtable. Guys, Tennessee enters Missouri week 1-0. Coach Pruitt has emphasized the fact that getting a road win last week in Columbia was always good for this football team. Now they come back to the friendly confines of Neyland Stadium, where at least I expect to see a more accurate Jarrett Garantano on Saturday. What say you, Rob Lewis?
I agree. I mean, I've been a little surprised at all the wailing and gnashing of teeth over Jarrett on Saturday night. I mean, I didn't. Yes, he missed some throws. Yes, it was magnified because a lot of those throws were on third down. But there was a lot of good there. I mean, he had 4 completions that went for more than 30 yards. I mean, and 3 of those were legit downfield throws that he was accurate on. Threw for 260 yards, and most importantly, did not turn the ball over. And if Tennessee gets play like they got from him on Saturday night in Columbia, they'll win quite a few football games this fall.
And Brent made a couple of plays with his legs. I mean, he's tried to showcase that before, not been really able to. I thought the couple of runs that he did make, I won't say were Josh Dobbs-esque, but at the same time, a couple of times he was getting ready to get hit, he did kind of do a Josh Dobbs and jump to kind of alleviate any kind of potential impact. I thought that those were a couple of nice plays that he made with his feet.
Well, I thought physically his feet were better. I'm with Rob, though. I think the biggest thing my biggest takeaway from what Jerry did in the game was simply the fact that he was decisive. Like right there, 2 reads, checked 2 progressions, and wasn't there, and he took off running and saw open field and made a play. Whereas I think a year ago he's trying to, his eyes are all over the place. He was decisive pre-snap, knew where he wanted to go with the football. If it was there, he was throwing it, and if it wasn't, he was moving on quickly, which tells you he's got a good understanding of the offense. He's got to be more accurate. I think we all understand that, but we know that it's in there. These 2 throws that you just see here, I mean, those are his 2 best throws of the night at the most critical times of the football game. So you know it's there. Mechanically, I think he can fix whatever was causing the high throws, but my biggest takeaway from Jared on the good side was the fact that mentally he appeared to be in much more control of the football game and much more control of his play than we've seen in his career previously.
One thing that will help Jarrett is a solid running game. I thought Ty Chandler opened the year really, really good. Eric Gray obviously had the touchdown run against South Carolina. I know for your liking they did not run it enough, Brent, but could you see in the limited carries that this group got, Jay Graham's had an impact on them?
Well, I thought they were decisive. I thought they ran a little more physical, broke some tackles, ran with a little more of an attitude and an edge about them, which I think is good. But yeah, I mean, my biggest thing is you got to call it more than seven tailback runs in the first half of your season opener. I thought Jim Chaney got a little pass happy, Rob, but he didn't get pass happy involving the running back. So if you're going to throw it, I think the running backs ought to be more involved in the run game or in the throw game that way. And B, I just think, Rob, they need more touches because I think Jay Graham is improving this group, and I think they're 2 weapons that Tennessee needs to get their hands on the ball more.
Yeah, I agree. And I would imagine or suspect very strongly that's a message that Jim Chaney got delivered to him by his head coach at halftime when Tennessee had 10 yards rushing in the first half, and as you said, only 7 of those were designed tailback runs, and they come out and they run for 126 yards in the second half, and I think that's more the identity of what Jeremy Pruitt is looking for. And the offensive line, that should be a strength of your team. And Trey Smith, Wanye Morris, Darnell Wright, who I'm not sure both those guys played great, but everybody up there has experience. And I think when you're talking about, we all think Jarrett can give you winning quarterback play, but the strength of your offense should be your offensive line. And Tennessee didn't really act like that to open the season up in the first half last week at Columbia.
Speaking of the offensive line, Wanye Morris, I expect to get the start at left tackle coming up on Saturday. Jameer Johnson with a bum ankle is a little bit banged up, so they'll try to get him back for Georgia. So I think Wanye gets the start. Trey Smith's going to play. He's got the brace on his arm, and he should be able to go. We'll see later in the week about Cade Mays, about his availability. And then switching sides to defense, Tennessee's ability to get to the quarterback and cause some pressure. I think that was a big question coming into the season. Well, not after week 1. They've at least been able to show some tangible evidence that they can get there with DeAndre Johnson or a number of different guys.
Well, I thought Kevon Bennett did some good things in the game as well. But I will say this and pump the brakes a little bit on Tennessee's emerging pass rush. That was a game tailor-made to rush the quarterback off the edge. You got Colin Hill with 3 torn ACL recoveries that he was just not going to move around and do a whole lot. This week, Rob, it's very different. You got zone read, you got speed option, you've got a lot of things that can slow edge guys down. Tennessee's edge guys' eye discipline is going to have to be really good in this game. Much different type of game for those guys mentally this week compared to week 1. This is a much tougher test for those outside linebackers, defensive ends this week.
And I mean, I throw the inside linebackers in there too when you're talking about the zone read stuff and, you know, run pass option, which I think based off how Brent, you've hammered this home this week, how Tennessee was attacked in the middle of the field last week. I'm sure that showed up on tape for Missouri, and that's something we have to watch out on. And two, you know, Missouri's playing 2 quarterbacks, but both guys are mobile, both guys can run, and yet I agree the discipline, the eye discipline for those guys on the edge this week, staying at home, playing their keys is going to be critical.
I do think that getting Jalen McCullough back in the back end helps the defense and helps the pass rush. I think there's a comfort level with him at safety, and I expect, you know, this group, you know, led by Kayvon Bennett and DeAndre Johnson, Tyler Barron, you know, different guys, to maybe even, I won't say play as good, but I think they'll still make plays this week. I think they'll still get to the quarterback. It may not be in the same fashion, as Brent noted, as last week, but I think that Tennessee's experience now in the back end of getting McCullough back, allowing Bryce Thompson to either shift to corner or nickel, wherever they want to play him, I think helps this group this week.
I don't disagree with you, Austin, and I think you'll agree with this too. I think the second game for Jeremy Banks at inside linebacker can help them in that pass coverage situation in the middle of the field. I thought Banks played well. You know, at times he handled stuff going forward really well. I'm not sure he played left to right as well as he needed to, but he should be better in week 2 than he was in week 1.
It's Tennessee and Missouri coming up Saturday at noon. For Brent Hubbs and Rob Lewis, I'm Austin Price.